There's only two other things better than winning a Pokemon card tournament. It is winning with your own unique 60 card list that honestly looks like a just pile of cards. And the second thing is seeing the rank 10 player globally take your exact 60 card list and run it at a Pokemon League Cup tournament that was 2 out of 3 the entire time and go undefeated in that too. Hey, my name's Crispin, aka SneakerTalk, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my Miraidon EX with the Dragapult EX deck profile. This list is spicy, so if you can't handle the spice, leave the kitchen. I've been really experimenting with Miraidon, aka Joltik Box, in this format. I've been pairing it with so many different cards, so many different attackers, so many different draw engines, and I figured, you know what? I love Dragapult EX, but I don't actually play the deck myself. But what if I paired it with one of my favorite Pokemon, Miraidon EX, and see what kind of concoction I can cook up. Now, if you want to play Miraidon Joltik Box, this is not the deck for you. This is a deck for someone who already has a bunch of experience with the list already, like the base list that I did a deck profile on before. This list takes that list and makes it extra spicy to the point where you're not going to believe the deck actually works until you start playing it yourself and see how it all comes together. It's I love it. This is one of the decks I've honestly never been so proud of a deck before, because just being able to see the results of this deck the same week that I created it, and to have a top 10, like rank 10 globally and rank 5 in LATAM rock the deck as well and have faith in it and go undefeated with it too, proves it's not just like luck. Now, I still plan to post my Miraidon Joltik Box deck profile that has different cards, but for today we're gonna go with this just because I felt so motivated and so happy to see the reaction to this deck on social media. That said, I'm planning to play this deck tomorrow at a big Pokemon card tournament. It should be like 50+ players, so we'll see how I go with that. And of course, if you guys don't know, I'm a competitively sponsored player by the store Comfy Hobbies. If you guys want to buy any Pokemon cards at all, check out the friends over at Comfy Hobbies. Use code SneakerTalk and you'll save 5% off. And one last thing, I did a massive eBay restock on my store, so if you guys want to buy any of the play stamped cards that we pulled from the booster box or just a bunch of other cool cards, check out my eBay store. It'll be linked down below. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 60 card list in detail, telling you guys why the cards are in here the way they are. I'm also going to talk about some potential tech inclusions or cards I thought about including in this list, but I just didn't. Because we were checking it out with the Dragapult line, we did have to make some cuts, and so the cuts do hurt, but at the end of the day, the deck has been working flawlessly, so they don't really hurt. It just feels weird not having the usual lines I'm used to with my Miraidon Joltik deck. This video is not going to feature any gameplay at all, so if you guys want to see some gameplay, this is where I have to heavily incentivize you guys to subscribe and hit that like button for that almighty powerful YouTube algorithm to recommend you guys the gameplay videos when those go up. So if you subscribe or like on this video, YouTube will definitely show you guys those gameplay videos on your feed when they eventually come up over the weekend or next week. 2 copies of Miraidon EX. I actually picked these gold ones up from the store with my store credit. I won $80 from the league challenge, so I was like, yo, let's just bling out my deck. Let's get some gold Miraidons. And so we're gonna retire these playstamp Miraidons for actually, maybe we give them away. Yeah, let's give these bad boys away. All right, so if you want to enter the giveaway, just comment down below and like the video, and I'll pick one lucky person. They'll get both of these Miraidons I've been using for quite some time. So starting off, we got Miraidon EX. Miraidon EX is powerful, and it's always going to be relevant in the Pokemon TCG because it has such a strong ability tandem unit. You basically get to search your deck for 2 lightning Pokemon and put them on. So usually you're going to grab like a Joltik or Iron Hands or a Pikachu. You have a lot of great options, and as long as Pokemon is releasing strong basic lightning Pokemon or a Pokemon that can evolve into strong lightning Pokemon, Miraidon will always see a use case. 220 HP is a really solid number. The fact that it's not 210 really does help it. Now, Miraidon doesn't really attack in this deck. It's really just used for its ability, but in the odd case you have to attack with Miraidon, it does help that you have a really strong attack in Photon Blaster. For 2 lightning and a colorless, you do 220 damage, which is enough to knock out a lot of Pokemon, and you can even swing for 230 with this Miraidon which is really useful against other bigger Pokemon such as Terapagos EX or Roaring Moon, or the list goes on, whatever's 230. So I found that one of the biggest weaknesses you could say that the Miraidon Joltik Box deck has is onboard draw. We're pretty much just relying on a Mew EX and a Fezandipiti EX with no other draw engine other than supporter cards or Pokegears to get you those really strong supporter cards. But I found that for the lack of onboard draw, it can become really hard in some times of the mid to late game. So I was looking at Pokemon that could be a draw engine but also a strong attacker. And the fact that we're already playing Psychic Energy in Joltik Box already is great, because that means it's not too weird to have the Psychic Energies for your Dragapult EX to attack either, and it just means you need to throw in one Fire Energy and then Dragapult EX can attack. I really like the fact that we have some onboard draw with Drakloak. We can potentially see 2 to 4 additional cards every single turn with the help of Recon Directive, and then you don't have to attack with it, but Dragapult EX is a strong late game attacker, and with the help of just a single copy of Crispin, your Dragapult EX can pop off. And yeah, it's just really strong. So 2 Dreepies, and then next up we have 2 copies of Drakloak. I actually pulled this hollow one from one of the play packs that we won from the tournament. Your opponent is not really going to have a reason to chase down your Drakloaks because they have to deal with the threats in front of them, either the Joltik for free that they can just basically knock out, or the Pokemon that you charged up with your Joltik. So Drakloak, really strong draw engine. There's a reason why the Dragapult and Drakloak line is sneaking its way into a lot of other decks out there, such as Golden Go EX, and the list goes on. Similar to how Zoroark EX is sneaking its way into other decks as well. In terms of other cards that would help the draw engine of Miraidon Joltik Box, I would say maybe put a second copy of Mew EX. I've been testing 2 copies of Mew EX, and that has been feeling really good as well. Next up, we have the Dragapult EX. Amazing late game attacker. It has 320 HP, so it is very thick. So sometimes your opponent is just not going to be able to knock out a 320 HP Pokemon as the last knockout that they're going to try and take. So having that big beefy health is good. It's also a Terra type Pokemon, which means it's going to be safe on the bench from attacks. It also activates your Area 0 Underdepth as well. Sometimes your Pikachu's not on board, this will activate it, and then you can do some really cool surprise plays like how I won the very finals of the League Challenge, which I'll talk about in the how I won this tournament video. I'll upload probably tomorrow. And then Phantom Dive, you got Fire and Psychic, 200 damage. Really strong attack, one of the best attacks in the game, and you do 6 damage counters onto your opponent's bench Pokemon. So you can clean up whatever Pokemon your opponent has left on the bench that you never got to finish the job on. 200 is a really solid number. It knocks out a lot of basic EX Pokemon, but we also play a Vitality Band in this deck too. That way, your Dragapult EX can actually swing for 210 and take those really strong Pokemon like Fezandipiti for knockout and just other 210 HP Pokemon. That 10 does make a huge difference. This is where things are going to become more of your typical cut and dry Joltik Box Miraidon core, because that of course is the core of the list, but we did change up, I think, like over 20% of the list. We changed up a lot, okay? So we got 2 copies of Joltik right here. Always play 2, no more, no less. Next up, we have our Galvantula. Galvantula is a strong one-shot attacker that can instantly KO Charizard, Zoroark EX, Pokemon that are EX that are basic that have 180 HP or less. If you have Lightning, you're doing 180 damage to a Pokemon with an ability on it. If your Joltik lives for whatever reason, you now have a really solid threat in the Galvantula. Now, one card that did not make the list is a card that I typically do play in my normal Miraidon Joltik Box, and that is Galvantula EX. Galvantula EX is a strong card for consideration in this deck as well, especially because we are playing the Vitality Band. Galvantula EX is just so good at one-hit KOing big basic EX Pokemon. It's also a Terra type Pokemon as well, and it only costs 1 Lightning and 1 Colorless, and you can do the same amount of damage as a Miraidon EX with basically a Bravery Charm on it. So you're turning your 30 HP liability into a strong Galvantula EX. But yeah, we're just running the baby Galvantula here. I would love to put the EX in if I potentially could. Oh yeah, if you have Galvantula EX with Vitality Band, you 1-hit KO Iron Hands. Really good in the mirror. 2 copies of Iron Hands EX. He is our main attacker that we're going to try and use our Joltik to charge up. Of course, if you don't know, Joltik charges 2 Grass and 2 Lightning, so that's why the energy counts are the way they are in this deck. We had some idiots be like, yo, why do you have so much Grass? Or what do you, like, someone on Twitter was like, you can't argue with me on this. You have too much grass in your deck. And then he didn't even know what Joltik does. There's so many idiots on Twitter, bro. I can't even take Twitter seriously. Iron Hands EX, you guys know the deal. 160 for 2 lightning and a colorless. We do have the Ampu very much, which means when we do have Vitality Band, we're able to hit for 130, which is a key number to attack Pokemon like Duraludon. 1 copy of Pikachu EX. One thing I realized is Pikachu EX is not the most needed attacker in a lot of matchups. You don't always have to hit for 300. And there's been some games where I prize hands and I'm only forced to charge up Pikachu, and it's like, I wish I wasn't charging up this Pikachu. But yeah, we have 1 copy of Pikachu EX. Just being able to, you know, still have that threat of being able to tandem unit out your Pikachu EX and then Joltik charge it up, or have it be a Crispin target as well to pull off really easy 1-hit KOs is phenomenal. So Pikachu EX is a mainstay of this deck, and as long as there's 300 HP Pokemon in the meta that are relevant, Pikachu EX will always be relevant as well. Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX, this is one of the best cards in the deck. You can swing for 240 for usually 1 or none energy cards because of how strong of a late game attacker this is. You always want to keep this in your back pocket for when you want to just do a big Nest Ball or whatever kind of play. Bloodmoon is so good, and if you slap on a Bravery Charm on it too, 310 HP, and it's like Bloodmoon Ursaluna VMAX, that's a lot to deal with. Next up, we got Lillie's Clefairy EX. We do run 2 Psychic Energies, so Lillie's Clefairy EX can become a potentially really strong attacker. We don't usually attack with it, but you know, it's just nice to have it as an option. But one thing I really do with it the most is I'll charge up my Mew EX ahead of time, and then I'll drop in the Lillie's Clefairy, and then Mew can swing in for weakness on particular Pokemon like the dragon, the Pokemon we're talking about. Dragapult and Raging Bolt get destroyed by Mew and Clefairy. While we have Mew in our hands, Mew has a really strong restart ability, so you can draw cards until you have 3. We have 4 Ultra Ball, so we're really consistently able to thin down our hand a lot, and our hand just is really small a lot of the time, so we get to refill it with Mew, and that's where I'm like, sometimes having 2 Mews feels really good, so I've really been testing 2 Mews very frequently online. And then Genome Hacking. Free Retreat is also insanely good too. Free Retreat, if you start Mew, is insane because that means you also do not need to set up a Latias, which means if you have a Nest Ball or you're doing another Pokemon search card, you can do something like set up a Dreepy instead of a Latias because you already have Free Retreat on board. But sometimes you just need to be able to Nest Ball for your Free Retreat option, so having Latias be a Nest Ball searchable target is phenomenal as well. And, you know, we do play 2 Psychic, so we could always attack with Eon Blade, but that doesn't really come up either. And again, Vitality Band, you can hit for 210 with Latias EX. It'd be cool to win a game with Latias for knockout, knocking out like a Fez. Talking about Fez, Fez is an amazing card too. Basically, the core draw engine of Joltik Box Miraidon is these 2. So if they knock out your Fez, you're down to Mew only. If they knock out your Mew, you're down to Fez. Having like Drakloak on board is just so good, and your opponent just never targets it down for the most part, and they have no real reason to, honestly. And if they do, that's fine. You don't really care because you have other more important Pokemon on your field. Fez, Mew. Fez never attacks. It's really just for the flip the script ability, and that's pretty much it. You know, Fez goes in everything. It's so good. Next up, we have Area 0 Underdepth. A stadium is important in this deck because, as you guys know if you've been playing Joltik Box or Miraidon for a while, Jamming Tower is a very devious, annoying stadium. So having a stadium bump, I think, is going to be a must going forward as this deck in general, like Joltik Box, rises in popularity. And then you can pull off some really cool plays like I did where my opponent had already, I think, knocked out a Pikachu EX, or I just didn't have a Terra Pokemon on board, or I had Dragapult on board. So when I eventually drew Area 0 and a Nest Ball, all I had to do was play Area 0, max out my board, and then I have a spot now that Lillie's Clefairy can make a surprise appearance, and then my Mew can attack for weakness. Or even I can Crispin the Clefairy, and then Clefairy can attack for weakness, and I have a big board. Tandem Unit can bring out all your other lightning basics as well, so you're doing 20 more. So good old Raikou v Lightning Rondo days, but instead we're saying Full Moon Rondo. One of the most skill-intensive things about this Joltik Box deck is knowing what Pokemon are going to be your live attackers for that game. Because as you guys know, prize cards hurt every single deck out there, and this deck has a lot of one-offs, and the energies can be a little iffy at times. If you're prize checking, usually prize checking for your energy cards first, and then your attackers is ideal. You can just vice versa, but the energy cards that you have in your deck are just as important as the attackers you have as well. 5 copies of Lightning Energy. Do not go below 5. You are insane if you do. 5 Grass Energies as well. Take a look at these beautiful place stamp haul. Oh my gosh, I have to recommend you guys check out the prize pack booster box opening. Even though we don't have like grass attackers other than our Galvantula in the list, of course Pokemon such as Pikachu EX do need the grass, and Joltik specifically charges only grass and lightning energies. So it feels really bad if your grass energies are in hand or if they're in the prize cards. Optimally, you want your Jolting charge to always go 2 lightning, 2 grass, and you can put them anywhere you want, which is phenomenal. Next up, we have 2 copies of Psychic Energy. Psychic Energy is a must if you're ever going to want to attack with Dragapult, but also it's already in the deck as at least a 2-of copy I've seen. Yeah, the core list runs 2, so we have 2. That way our Clefairy can also be an attacker. Dragapult EX is never an early attacker, or it's not even a mid-game attacker for that matter. We want our Drakloaks on board for as long as we can, and we don't evolve until we really need to. If we happen to prize our 1 copy of Fire Energy, it's no big deal. We just do not care. It is what it is, and we're just not attacking with Dragapult EX for the game. Now, if you're a spicy, goofy guy like me, you like to play Wellspring Mask Ogerpon in your Miraidon along with a 1-off Water Energy. But if you want to play 2 copies of Fire Energy, this Volcanion EX is also really good. I've been experimenting with this dude as well. Being able to burn your opponent's Pokemon and knock them out in between turns is great. We usually have Latias on board for free retreat as well. So, you know, just burning your opponent is great in general. And then Scorching Cyclone is like the same attack as essentially Iron Thorns, where you need 2 fire and a colorless, and you do 160 to the active, essentially 180 because you're burning them. You move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So you could charge up your Dragapult that way, or you could charge up another attacker with the help of Volcanion EX. But yeah, Volcanion's not in the list. It's just a card I've been experimenting with. And then for the other energies, because we do have our 1 copy of Pikachu EX, we're not going to be as reliant on pulling off the Topaz Bolt attack. We went down to 1 Metal Energy as well. And if you happen to prize both, it sucks. It is what it is. I think one of the funnest things about this deck is learning on the fly and challenging yourself and figuring out these lines, and not just the lines, but the sequence of lines of attacks that you're going to pull off, because the deck is essentially a Miraidon toolbox. Like, you can really have so much to choose from when it comes to your attackers, and you can get creative with how you do things, especially with Dragapult, to just like clean up numbers as well. So we have 1 copy of Metal Energy, and then we also have 1 copy of Fire Energy specifically for our Dragapult. And of course, because we have a bunch of different attackers, like these guys right here, they all at least at the minimum require like 1 random or 2 random colorless energies to attack. So it's fine if you have to use your fire or your metal energies earlier, or if you have to discard them or whatever happens, because we do play Super Rod, and Super Rod is one of the best cards in the deck. That will just guarantee that your Crispins will pop off and you can Nest Ball the Pokemon you want out. The tools are a really important thing when it comes to your Joltik Box Miraidon deck, because that is going to basically dictate the playstyle of your deck. But for the most part, every deck needs to have at least 1 Bravery Charm. I think you need to have 2. I think 2 is optimal for this list. You're typically going to want to throw it on 2. Sometimes it goes on your Pikachu, but it's more than likely it usually goes on your Iron Hands to make it 280 HP. There's also a lot of times where you might throw the Bravery Charm on the Mew to make sure your actual like safe draw engine is gonna be able to live through a lot. You're gonna want to put Charm on Ursaluna sometimes late game if it comes down to it. There's the odd case where you also put it onto Fez so it can be 260 out of Phantom Dive, Howlucha range, and whatnot. So Bravery Charm is amazing. You need to have 2. I call it Chicken Nugget a lot of the times because it looks like a perfectly gold crispy chicken nugget. Now, because we do have Latias, you know, available for free retreat pivot, sometimes you prize your Latias, or sometimes you just don't have the bench space available. Maybe it doesn't work out for you that way. So the fact that we have our Arvens that can grab us a tool, which can give you the pivot, is really good. So we have the Rescue Board at 1 copy, and then we have Vitality Band in here as well. So Vitality Band, I talked about it a whole bunch already. I don't think we're gonna need to go into much detail for Vitality Band, but yeah, +10 universally, really good. Many lists I've seen in the past, including the original core list, had Future Booster Energy Capsule. Future Booster Energy Capsule is really strong. It makes your Iron Hands have free retreat, and it means you can amp for 140 or arm press for 180, which means you can knock out Pokemon like Mew EX with Iron Hands. Because our deck is already so spicy, if we're gonna have kind of cards to boost up the damage level, I don't want it to be so center focused on Iron Hands. I want my deck to be more flexible, and so Vitality Band is actually just insane on Iron Hands. It's insane on Miraidon. Could be insane on Pikachu EX if you're swinging into like a full health Gardevoir. It's most useful on Dragapult EX with Vitality Band, I believe. And I really think they should make a higher rarity Vitality Band, because I think they didn't have higher than like a reverse holo. So come on, Pokemon, step it up. Next up, we have the supporters, and this is where things get pretty spicy. So first up, we have 3 copies of Arven. Arven is a goated card in Joltik Box. You're typically going to grab something like your Bravery Charm and your Rescue Board, for example, and a Nest Ball. So the Nest Ball is going to usually grab you Miraidon, and Miraidon's going to grab you your fleet of stuff. But if you have those things available, then you can always grab a Latias for free retreat and a Charm instead, or you can grab your Dreepy. Grabbing Dreepy is so good with Arven, and then the look on your opponent's face is just going to be fantastic when you put in a Dreepy and you're like, they thought you were playing a Joltik Box or a Miraidon deck. So 3 copies of Arven. It's notable that it is 3 copies because typically you play 4, but we're going to get to why we play 3 in just a moment. Let's get to the other supporters. 3 copies of Crispin. Crispin is one of the best cards in the deck as well. Just like Joltik unlocking so much potential in this deck and many others, Crispin is another card that does the exact same thing, but on a supporter. Being able to attach an extra energy per turn is always going to be good. And the fact that it's just from your deck is even better. So it just has to be in your deck. Make sure you have 2 different energies in your deck and you're off to the races. This is why decks like Terrabox are so good. This is why this deck is so good, because you have so many different random, different types of Pokemon, different types of energy. Crispin allows any hot pile of cards to become an actual, like, cracked out pile of cards, like actually good and respectable. 3 copies of Boss's Orders. Being able to gust the exact target you want is always very important in this deck, so we're taking maximum amount of press cards or just being very, very annoying. And yeah, you're gonna note that we don't have 4 Crispin, 4 Boss, and 4 Arven. Typical Joltik boxes do, and we had to get a little creative with this, and that's because we have our draw engine built in with our Drakloak now, which is going to help us see even more additional cards. And then the reason we also cut the 4th Arven is there's a really strong card in the meta that I think is super, super underrated that more and more people should start playing, and that is Brock's Scouting. When you really think about it, Brock's Scouting is essentially the same as Arven in many, many use cases. And there's a lot of times where Brock's Scouting can actually be better. So first of all, Brock's Scouting has 2 effects. You have to choose one of the 2 effects. You can either take 2 basic Pokemon in your deck and add them to your hand, or 1 evolution Pokemon and add it to your hand. So say you want to play Brock's Scouting turn 1 instead of Arven. That's going to allow you to set up a Miraidon and Latias, or it's going to allow you to set up a Dreepy and a Miraidon, or even 2 Dreepies for that matter. Brock's Scouting is also insanely good late game because it can give you access to getting a Fez on the board and a Bloodmoon, or a Latias and a Bloodmoon, or Mew EX for some more draw and a Bloodmoon. So Brock's Scouting is so good. You can also use it to just grab your Dragapult EX, Galvantula if you need to, or more of course, probably the Drakloak. So Brock's Scouting has the same power level, like rating I'd give it as Arven, but you're grabbing Pokemon. And this deck relies so heavily on like big basic Pokemon. So grabbing 2 of your basic Pokemon, which are very good, seems like a no-brainer. And there's going to be times in the game where you don't need a tool. And so grabbing a tool with Arven, or maybe you just can't even grab a tool at all, feels pretty bad. Brock's Scouting always gets you something useful. Another really good thing to note is as we've become more and more accustomed to Badoo, the demon child himself, Badoo, I hate you. Well, not really, I actually love Badoo because it has shaped the meta the way it has accordingly. Brock's Scouting is Pokemon search on a supporter. So we are no longer locked out of the game if our opponent Badoo's item locks us. We can't play Nest Ball, we can't play Ultra Ball, but Brock's Scouting is 2 Nest Balls, right? Brock's Scouting is an Ultra Ball that you can play without sacrificing cards from your hand. So as I'm continuing to develop as a deck builder and really figured things out, I am going to continue experimenting with Brock's Scouting. And yeah, I really think Brock's Scouting could eventually, potentially overtake Arven in this deck. It might become a 2-2 line. I have a second Brock just in the waiting right here. But for now, I think 3-1 is working really good. So we're going to keep it like this, especially for the big tournament I'm going to tomorrow. And the last supporter in the deck is 1 copy of Iono. This deck really relies heavily on that really good timed late game Iono to 2 or to 1. Iono is a lifesaver, as you guys know, and you have to have it. Now, if you have to play it earlier on, it does suck, but it's better than not playing at all. For item cards, we have maximum consistency because our deck is so all over the place. We want to make sure we're always playing Pokemon, and I didn't mention this earlier, but this is going to be, this might blow your mind. So Joltik Box, Miraidon, this deck, as you guys know, like even just the core version of it, it always wants to go second. But the league challenge where I went 5 wins and 0 losses, completely undefeated, I lost all 5 coin tosses, and I was forced to go first every single game. So I won a league challenge going the suboptimal first every game, when this deck's power level is so much higher going second, getting that Joltik attack off on your first turn. So basically, I had to get really creative every single first turn with either trying to make painful Ultra Ball sacrifices to get Mew just so I could have guaranteed onboard draw, or get a Dreepy down. And that was like one of my first objectives, to get a Mew or a Dreepy down, and then my Miraidon can do the rest of the work, or Joltik can do the rest of the work later on. I think that's so cool, that the fact that I was able to, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but being able to win a tournament 5-0, losing every coin toss, sounds insane. So the fact that I could do that with this deck is like a testament to how strong this deck actually is, even if you don't get to go your optimal start. 4 copies of Nest Ball, 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Common question a lot of people asked in my previous list and stuff is, why do you run so many Ultra Ball when you don't play that many evolution Pokemon? It was just like Galvantula. But you need maximum consistency. You want to see your Pokemon. Your Pokemon are the strongest assets of this deck, so having access to your Pokemon with Ultra Ball is fantastic. And then of course, you can always thin out your hand and draw more cards with Mew. Ultra Ball is even better in this deck than previously, because now we can Ultra Ball for Drakloak, and then see cards with Drakloak. You see so many more cards in this deck with the Drakloak engine. It's so useful. So 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Pokegear right here is one card that I was really on the fence about including. Now the original like Joltik list and stuff like that, they all have 4 or 3 Pokegears, and Pokegear is really good in decks that lack consistent draw. And that's why those decks had 4 and 3. The fact that we're able to have Drakloak be our draw means we're less reliant on RNG of Pokegear, which feels pretty good too. And the Pokegear is just still a really strong card, because similar to how you would play it, how you'd play Lumineon and grab the supporter you want, there's a lot of times you've thinned out your deck so much, or you've done enough recons that you know that the next cards in your deck are going to be supporters you want to see. Having Pokegear to grab you that one-off clutch Iono, or that Brock, or of course Boss is always really helpful. So Pokegear 3.0 is potentially cuttable, but it does help you win games. There's going to be games where you go first. This happened to me in the challenge. I was forced to go first. I know item lock is coming, so I better play my Pokegear while I can, because I had no supporter in my hand. Pokegear got me Iono, the least optimal supporter I could play on my first turn of playing supporters, but it worked out for me in the end. So you could cut Pokegear. The deck works right now. I'm not gonna, I've pushed the limits of Miraidon and Joltik. I really did, to make this deck happen. It's also helpful that you could have so many more outs to your supporters with Pokegear, from your draws, for your Fez, for your Drakloaks. Just having Pokegear is goated. Okay, don't take Pokegear out. I'm selling myself on it. It is so good. Earthen Vessel is a must-have in this deck. If you don't have Earthen Vessel in your deck, you're throwing. Hand thinning as well. Then we have Super Rod. Because we have such a rainbow of energies, you need to have Super Rod, especially for mid to late game. Sometimes you have to make a painful sacrifice with an Ultra Ball. Sometimes you have a key Pokemon or key energy card in your discard. Super Rod is really good. A spec of choice is Prime Catcher. Because we went down to 3 copies of Boss and we have our 3 Arven still, I think having Prime Catcher is very useful. Now, you have to be mindful that more and more decks are starting to include a Genesect and the tool, so they just turn off your A specs all game essentially, which is really annoying. Some games you might want to Prime Catcher earlier than not, because if you don't, you're never going to play the Prime Catcher in some games. Here's an online image of the full 60 card list if you guys want to screenshot this list or use it in Pokemon trading card game live. I'll have it in the description so you can copy and paste it. This is honestly probably my best creation as a Pokemon player, deck builder. I take a lot of pride in building decks, and to say, like, I can say I genuinely made this deck myself. I didn't take inspiration from any other Miraidon Dragapult list out there. This was like all handcrafted, other than the core 60 you could say of the Joltik box, but I've changed, like, so much of this list has changed that I think I want to say I take full credit for this list. So if you guys play this list and you do well with it, or yeah, just if you do well with it, tag me in your post. Let me know how you do with the list. I want to see this list thrive, and the fact that the rank 10 player in the world saw this list, he doesn't even follow me. He saw the list and just used it and went undefeated at a League Cup. It really is, it makes my soul happy. And quick reminder, I did a Pokemon card eBay restock, so if you want cool play stamped cards, check out my eBay. If you took anything away from this video or enjoyed it, hit that like button down below. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you want to hang out some more, click here to watch the original Miraidon Joltik Box deck profile. Click here to watch me play Ampharos EX at a Pokemon regional tournament, and you can click here to subscribe in case you haven't yet already. Good luck in your games, and hopefully I'll see you around in a future video. Peace.